Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Bertie Roux podcast, episode 31. We celebrated episode 30 last week, and we gave away some coaching sessions. Bertie, how about today we give away about a half an hour coaching session for some interactions? What do you think?
I'm comfortable with that.
Perfect. So if you're listening to the show, you have any thoughts, comments, or any questions, post them up on our broadcast today, and we would love to engage with you and give you some value. Bertie, today, Bertie, hello, how are you?
Yes, good day to you too.
All right.
Yes, I'm very well, thank you.
All right, and welcome to our listeners and our viewers as well. Today, we want to delve deeper into vision with imagination. We're going to focus on foresight, living your future. Bertie, how does that work? With foresight, I can live my future.
Okay, if you would allow me just to go back to where we started, the vision with imagination. The whole discipline of thought, in my mind, consists of three principles, which is the overview, insight, and foresight. And last week we covered insight, and before that we covered overview. Now, so we can't see foresight loosely when we look at the disciplines of thought, because it's all a matter of we are what we think. Now, we started out by saying, let's define our vision. And the challenge is always, what is a vision? Okay. And at the end of the day, I believe that it is your imagined reflection of your perceived future. That's a vision. My definition of vision. Imagined reflection of your perceived future. And therefore, it is not just a dream. And it's also not goals. It is something much bigger than that, and is created with imagination, but with an overview of where you're at and what you're all about. In that creation, one of the concepts that I use is the bird's eye view, and saying you've got to elevate yourself above where you are. Because if you create a vision from where you're at the moment, your vision means that your future is blurred, because you can only see what you can almost touch and feel and have total control over. But the moment that you elevate yourself into the sky, into space, you look at different eyes at the reality, what you've defined as your reality, and it plays no role. And you are able to create that vision for yourself. Because having the vision and then having the ability to do introspection and find out right down to the core who I am. In other words, that I can understand myself, that I can free myself, and we spent some time with that last week, Ivan, just to free myself from the preconceived or those ideas that has been instilled in my mind by other people from the very first day that I was born. People that has categorized or boxed me in. I needed to go, once I've created that vision with the overview in mind, I've gone through the insight, and now I know who I am. The true Bertie. I've gone to my core, threw everything out. I basically had a blood transfusion. I am a new man. I'm looking at my vision with new eyes, because all of a sudden, it's not just pie in the sky. It's real, because I know I can. Right. So once I've done that, the future is possible. I know it's possible. I've seen it in my mind's eye, my perceived future. So what foresight therefore actually means is that it gives you the ability to project yourself into the future, to start not just seeing what your future is going to be like, but actually what it will be like to live it. And you can start living your future in the here and now. That, by definition, is my foresight.
Bertie, there's a statement, I don't know if you've heard it before, cogito ergo sum, by a philosopher, Rene Descartes. Now, this phrase, loosely translated from Latin, means I think, therefore I am. What are your thoughts on that statement, and how does it apply here?
If you can put that on your mirror or on your cupboard, that is exactly what I'm talking about. I think because I am. Because what I think is how my whole being responds, not just my muscles. And we have discussed it not on air live here, but through previous podcasts when I spoke about the polyvagal theory, which actually says that how I think, my muscles will respond. And we therefore then, in the theory, it talks about the brain engagement, the heart being fight or flight response, and the gut being freeze. So absolutely, fully subscribe to that statement. What I think, I am.
Later on, he explained it when he was asked to just elaborate on that. He said, "We cannot doubt of our existence while we doubt."
It is like we said before. The whole concept of if I think I can, I can. If I think I can't, I cannot. And in both cases, I'm right.
Yeah.
Because once again, if I doubt myself, then I will keep on doubting myself. Because how do I prove to myself without action that I actually can, if I doubt and therefore never start?
One of the things that you talk about is creating the solutions to getting you closer to your goals. So can we take the premise that I don't get to my goals because there are things in the way, and therefore we have to find solutions for those?
Life will always be full of challenges, irrespective how much control I believe I have about every step of the way. There will always be a thunderstorm when I least expect it, and when my umbrella's at home. So the way you handle and manage those obstacles in your life, the distractions, is being focused. Because if you're focused in terms of where you're going, everything in between will just be interim and will just be temporary challenges that I need to resolve. But those challenges is not distracting me from where I'm going because of the fact that I'm focused. If I don't have any goals, any dreams, and therefore no vision, anything in between can distract me from where I'm going because I've got no idea. Like Alice in Wonderland, when she got to the crossroad and there's the alley cat in the tree, and she asked the alley cat some guidance, some direction, asking me where she should go. And the cat's response was, depends where you want to go. And Alice said, I don't know. Then he says, then any road will take you there. And that's unfortunately life. So if we don't have direction, therefore no purpose, any road will take us there. Doesn't matter how long it will take, but we can go 360 degrees. So we will never reach an end state where we'd say, I've achieved my goals. And that's why I said, when I narrow it down to the vision that I've got, and I'm following and I'm walking that path, with that clarity, the future get closer because I am walking the narrowest path. The shortest route between point A and B is a straight line. So I'm walking that straight line, accepting and acknowledging. And in between, there will always be challenges. that I need to resolve or pass by or park. I cannot hear you. There's no sound.
Apologies, there was an airplane going over us here. I want to connect this discipline of thought to the concept of dreams without action. This philosopher that we just mentioned, Rene Descartes, he had strong criticism from another philosopher, John McMurray. And I'm going to read to you what he said when he was talking about this cogito concept. He said, we must reject this both as a standpoint and as a method. If this is philosophy, you're going to laugh now. He says, if this be philosophy, then philosophy is a bubble floating in an atmosphere of unreality. And then there's a premise where people are talking about. I just want to read this to you. There's a saying that I've heard and that I really believe in. It says, what stands in the way becomes the way. Every obstacle you face is the way to advance your next action.
You know, when you read that, what comes to my mind is I could see a balloon. One balloon is filled with just the air that I've blown into it, and the next one is filled with helium. If I let both go, the one will disappear very quickly. No idea where it's gone, but all of a sudden it's just gone and disappeared. Where the other balloon will still float around here and not go to that height. So, you know, philosophy can keep one busy for a long time. If I go down my path, which I've laid out and I've chosen for myself, and it's full of rubble and pebbles and stuff, I will go either around it or I go over it, but I'll still stick on my path. If there's a ladder somewhere in this path of mine, I won't necessarily climb the ladder because that's the obstacle and I have to go with the obstacle in terms of philosophy. I will go around it because I don't need the ladder now. And nor am I going to carry it with me that maybe I need it in future. So we can discuss and conceptualize and all of those kind of things, but how you see and how you simplify it to me is more important. Because as a common person, myself, that simplifies life so that I can understand it and therefore take control of it. To me, all I need is a goal, a vision, and I follow the path that I've then chosen. The path could sometimes be taking me around different obstacles, or through those obstacles. But I'm not going to take any of those obstacles and follow that to the end degree and then say it wasn't part of my path.
Yeah.
Two can happen, but the clarity of foresight would mean that I actually go from where I'm at the moment, and I have a perception of my end state of my vision, and I move to that state, and I can live from there. So there's almost a pulling and not a pushing. And to me, the pulling is much more a desired end state that I would like to philosophize about. So if I can explain to somebody when we talk about a vision with imagination and I talk about the foresight, the clarity of that vision of mine means I'm going to live it. And I live it by being pulled by my future. Because I start living it, experiencing it. Sorry.
No problem. There was an article on Medium about 3 years ago by Thomas Opong. His title was "The Impediment to Action Advances Action." I want to unpack this thing that we're talking about a little bit more. That full quote is by Marcus Aurelius. I just want to read it. It says, "Our actions may be impeded, but there can be no impeding our intentions or dispositions. Because we can accommodate and adapt, the mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's what it says. Further, he writes here, it's profound and so true. Every obstacle you face is the way to advance your next action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Action is the solution and the cure to our predicaments. Benjamin Franklin said it this way: the thing which hurt, that instructs.
I can just say amen to that, because that's exactly that. I do believe the clarity means control, because control comes with focus. Then the obstacle becomes immaterial, because I will get through it. I'll find a way, because I know where I'm going, and I will not be distracted. The problem is with no goal, no vision, no dream. That means no end state, means no direction. That is the greatest concern, and that is the greatest worry. Not what happened in between that distracts me, because if I have none, anything that distracts me, because I can just simply ignore it, go around it, and take another direction. It's almost like deciding on you want to become a professional sportsman, and you still can't find out whether it's golf or cricket or football or rugby. You've got to have some idea, if not about your physical abilities, but then about your mental abilities, and a combination thereof. You need to have that clarity almost before you start. It's like a dream with no action still stays a dream. You need to take the action towards your goal.
There's a Greek philosophy. His name is, let me just pronounce it correctly, Epictetus. He says, in life, our first job is this: to divide and distinguish things in two categories. Externals I cannot control, but the choices I make with regard to them I do control. Where will I find good and bad in me, in my choices? So I think at the end of the day, let's put choices out of the way. Let's just talk about, I have a dream or I have a vision, but this thing that we're unpacking here in your course is, I get closer to my goals. Probably the first thing is a decision. What do you think?
Yeah, I would like to say that I get back to the fact that I was saying, if you know yourself, you know your abilities, because not all of us would be able to take any challenge and run with it. We need to understand who we are and what's our capabilities before we start. We need to have that insight and spend some time planning before we start. And sometimes planning can be analysis paralysis, but let's just say I know who I am. So in terms of my abilities, I do my planning going forward. And then I can have control, even control over external issues over which I have supposedly no control, because I can plan accordingly. I can go around them, I can go through them, or I can just simply ignore them because they're not part of my future, not part of my plans. So so often we believe that everything around us impact on us, and therefore we want to resolve everything around us before we even start. It's not true. You've got to be able to look at everything around you with specific eye, with eyes. Even if I talk about overview, I always say that the bird's eye view means I have got a very wide and big picture, but that eagle in the sky has the ability to focus on his prey and dive down and catch his prey, even in this total global picture that he has of Earth or whatever below him. And the same here. We must be able to differentiate between the good, the bad, and the ugly that surrounds us. And if we can't do that, then sometimes we do help. And that's where coaches comes in, or counselors comes in, or mentors come in. It's just to help us to be able to make sense around all of this stuff that is filling our lives and our minds, and causing us not even to try to start. And the moment that happens, the clarity comes with that guidance, and the clarity will come from inside you. People will just guide you. Once you have the clarity, the path is defined, and you can walk it with total control.
There's an ancient text or writing. It says, "He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. As you do not know which way the wind or how the bones grow in the womb, so you do not know the works that makes everything." So I think one thing that I think we can definitely learn and pick up is. Um, we are always trying to make things need to be perfect before we actually do something. And so, for instance, like with your platform, you're not waiting for things to be perfect. We've been trying a lot of different mediums to communicate. So we've done videos in a very small snug studio, and we've done videos in a boardroom, and then we've got the quote cards that's been going out. But we're not saying, listen, we have the perfect communication piece before it goes out. And because there's the speed of communication from your side and your brand, there's a lot more activity in getting people engaged in this process and this thought, I think, at the end of the day.
Yes, Ivan. If we talk about perfection, then in itself it means one of the biggest impeding factors for anybody to start. Everything around me must be perfect before me to start. Like you say, I must have the perfect soil, the perfect rainfall before I plant. So if I'm waiting for that, I might as well wait forever. So,
Yeah.
and in my view, if I'm waiting for something that by my definition is perfect, I am still grounded and and looking at the future in steps by steps, because I know these things. I know this happened. I know that if it comes to this month of the year, if we use that example, then the chances of rain will be perfect. So I need to plow my lands and make it ready to seed, so that when the rains come, I have done it. I'm ready. So I know all those kind of things. So I almost create a perfect world for me as a farmer. Okay. But in reality, that doesn't happen. That's why I talk about, I want you to look at your future from, not from pushing you towards the future, is pulling you towards the future. You must therefore make this quantum leap into the uncertain future that you've defined to be your perceived future via defining your vision. But in defining your vision, you are actually applying your mind, whether it's your conscious or subconscious or unconscious mind. You've applied that, because whatever you want is already in here. It's already in your mind. You just need to take it out and give it substance. Okay. And that is nothing like perfection, because my future end state, that vision, is not perfection. That's my perceived, preferred future that I would like to live, in a state that I want to reach. Sometimes people ask me, so when? Is it linked to a date, to a time? Nothing. I say no. I say, how would you know you've got there? I say, I don't know. But what I can promise you, that when you've reached it, you will know that. So that's why it's an imagined, perceived future that you created for yourself. And I'd say again, there is no perfection linked to it. It's what I see. Because remember, my perception becomes my fact. So would your perfection of your perceptions become your facts. And both of us believe it's facts. But the origin of the fact is a perception. The origin of a fact is not a fact. It's a perception. That's how I view and perceive. And that's why to me it's easy enough. Take the quantum leap when you talk about creating that vision for yourself. Don't want to live your life by being able to see controlling step-by-step movements, because then you're not going to get where you want to and where you can go. You will not achieve your vision, what you've been put on this earth to be and to become.
If we're unpacking things that are obstacles to your goals, we've unpacked two big ones. One is inaction, the other one is seeking perfection. What are some of the other obstacles, Bertie, that we experience that can hinder us from getting to our goals?
One of the biggest obstacles is voices. It's either internal voices that say to you, you cannot, you've tried it before and you couldn't, or it's other people that is constantly telling you whether you can or cannot and what you should or should not. Therefore, the clarity of your focus is so critically important. Otherwise, you're going to listen to those voices, and all that the voice is going to do is going to slow you down. Because what are those people trying to do to you, or those voices trying to do to you, is to tell you that you are not allowed to stand out in the crowd. You're not allowed by yourself to go and create a vision and live it. You're not allowed, because we constantly entrusting our futures and our goals and our wishes and our dreams to others. We need to get rid of that. And those to me is probably the biggest, because those are the unasked for, the uncalled for, continuous bombardment with things outside. Most of them, as I say, voices. That is distracting me in terms of my focus. But and then you can say no.
My mentor is always talking about, this thing that, number one, we care too much about other people's opinions of what we're doing. Sometimes we are seeding into a future state and doing something for that. People watch this and they criticize that, and a lot of times we don't do what we feel we're called to or purpose to, because we're asking for permission first, and until someone gives us permission, we don't actually move forward with doing that.
Absolutely, because we are so often guided and driven by feelings, our own feelings, but also the concern for others' feelings. And the question is, why? Why should I be more concerned about the feelings of others than the feelings of myself? Why should I put myself second to everybody else? Because it may not even be the case that what I'm saying, what I'm doing is creating feelings with other people. And if it's so, that is their decision to say that my doings and my beliefs is not going to impact on them. But you're quite right. It is feelings. Whether I want to say care for other people, and I'm not saying here with don't care for other people, but what I do say is you've got to learn to unconditionally love yourself and put yourself first. Your feelings should be the most important, because if you cannot manage your own feelings, how would you manage others' feelings without internalizing it and making them your feelings? So at the end of the day, whose life are you living? Yours or theirs?
I have a very, very influential and prominent figure in my life that, and you could probably guess who that is. but looking at not so much these days, but used to look at what I'm doing, and then would ask the questions like, "When are you going to get a real job?" or "Why did you go and study for whatever?"
You know, that is unfortunately what we've been brought up with, by a definition by others as saying what is a real job, because a real job is a job that gives you a set salary at the end of the month for which you've delivered certain goods and services.
Hmm.
Okay. But that is what other people has put on our mind. Whether I become an engineer, a doctor, or a shop owner, or whatever the case may be, I don't want to put entrepreneur in there, because an entrepreneur is one of those people. When do you get a real job? Okay, and unfortunately, that impedes the progress of the world. It's because people consider real jobs to be a thing that pays a salary. Ivan, if you want to allow me, you know, we've spoken about this whole vision with imagination. And the question comes up that you out there that's listening to this podcast and asking yourselves the question, why? Why a vision? And then why go through the steps of overview, insight, and foresight? Why creating this? I honestly believe and sincerely believe that we are all capable to do much more and create much more. It's easy for me to talk. I'm 65 years old. I've made lots of mistakes. And you out there still younger and maybe still starting out with making your mistakes. But the question is, why should you make the mistakes? Why can you not spend some time and define a vision for yourself to which you can grow and develop, that you can be passionate about? And that is what I'm trying to create and instill in people's minds. It's up to you to define your future, and only you. Because once done, it's only you that's going to live it. Okay. And the sooner you do that, the sooner you can become passionate about your life. Because at the end of the day, as we say, passion plus purpose is prosperity. But we spend so much time in creating prosperity. So we go to university, college, or wherever, and we qualify ourselves so that we can take a job or a career that will give us lots of money, that we can live our life. And most of us are extremely unhappy in whatever we do. But we take such a long time before we sit down and say and ask ourselves the question, why? Why am I doing all of this? Because money doesn't bring happiness. Probably brought more sorrow than happiness ever in the world. So by creating this and putting this out there, and we'd be creating masterminds to bring it more into your life, that you can participate, and where we can help with the help of other similar people like you, part of this masterminds, to help developing your vision. Because I want you to have a vision. I want you to have a purpose. I want you to bring joy in your own life through focus and living your passions. And it's not so difficult. You know, I sometimes talk to people and they talk about, they tell me about vision. And I said, when you go shopping on Saturday, you run out of groceries and let's just go there. In your mind's eye, you've actually, before you entered that supermarket, you've bought all the items because you know exactly where those items that you normally buy is on the shelves. And that's why it's such a challenge for the shop owners to put stuff in your path so that you can accidentally buy them. So they can confront you with this nice chocolate or whatever the case may be, so that you can buy it. Because they know we are all almost motorized because we've got clarity of our vision. So I go through the process, I buy this stuff, and the moment I pay and I get to my car and I put it in the boot, I can feel that I've achieved that vision of going shopping. Now, we also know that there's sometimes distractions. Some of us are able to go to the shop with this absolute clear vision in our mind. Are we going to go shopping for groceries, and at the end of the day we come back with, just a stint into this pharmaceutical shop, and into this clothing shop, into that shoe shop, because we accidentally realize that we actually need some shoes and some perfume. Okay, but that's life. But that concept of having a clear vision, having done it and saying, yes, done, groceries have been bought, and the feeling, we've got to go through that. It's like when I choose my career and I work on my career, I often ask guys, tell me, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and where do you see yourself in 10 years? They've got absolutely no idea. No idea. So how can you then be happy with any end state other than working, going home, play computer games at 2 o'clock in the morning, sleep, have breakfast, come back to the office, do the same thing, go home, play another computer game? Is that really what life is all about? When I created that vision, I start living my life, and I start in an early life ticking off items on my bucket list: hot air balloon, parachuting, scuba diving, snow skiing. We've got to have those reasons, not just to get up in the morning, but to live our life.
Bertie, I want to talk about, I'm glad you spoke about studying, because I think that's what also one of the hurdles. So my question would be, if I'm good at something, is it necessary to go and study it? Now I'm talking about going to university and doing a 3-4 year something, or I'm not talking about a course, like a short course for a month or 3 months or so. Is it necessary to do that? And if yes, if I am doing something already and I'm doing it pretty well or efficiently, or it's my passion or so on, do you think someone should do first and then study, or should they first study and then start doing?
I can tell you about my own life, but I won't go that way. There's facts that we need to have absolute clarity about, and that is whether you are good at something or whether you love doing something. If the two are the same, that's perfection. In other words, do something well and love doing it, because there's a big difference. Because you can be extremely good at something, but when you get home or you look back, you find that you've got no energy left after the day, and you've done good things with that you are excellent at, and everybody say to you, yes, but you're good at this, you're exceptional, I'm so glad you work for me. So, but the moment you realize that what you are doing takes your energy, saps your energy, you must understand that is not necessarily what you should be doing. Because you are looking for what you love doing. Because the moment you do things that you love, you will be energized by that. So there's the difference between the two. So I could be good at guitar playing, but terrible at singing. So the question is, should I make a career out of guitar playing and do a course, do a program, enroll somewhere? Or am I just good enough as a guitar player to enjoy it very much on my own? That's not my career. So I love doing that, but it's not necessarily my career. So I must focus on what I love doing. And the mistake that many of us do when we go through our final school years is in the choice of subjects, and then the choice of the university degree or the college diploma. It links to one another. But you may have been good at a certain subject at school, not because you're good at it, but because you loved the teacher and she or he was excellent. It was your rugby coach or whatever the case may be. So you are good at that subject. But from a career perspective, you should not dabble into accounting or into legal or engineering, because that's not you. You're a person, you're a people's person. So, and that's one of the challenges. So it's a talk for another hour or what, to distinguish between good at and love doing. I say again, if you can bring the two together, that's perfection. But that doesn't happen all the time. And sometimes you will find that you can keep on doing things that you are good at, but you'll combine it with things that you love doing, so that the love doing can bring the energy back in what the good at is drawing from me. So in terms of my work-life balance, I can bring that together and live a much more fulfilled and happy life, understanding the concept of good at and love doing.
Okay. Bertie, I think I wanna maybe land the interview there or the show there, and I wanna just bring all these things together. So just in reaction for those that are watching, remember, if you post a question during the show, you stand a chance of winning a 30-minute coaching session with Bertie. Bertie, so the four things that I've picked up that will be obstacles to you reaching your goals. Number one is inaction. So not actually doing anything. So I might have this vision and this goal, but I don't do anything about it. The second one is seeking perfection. And the third one is valuing others' opinions more than you do the actual vision. And lastly is study. So study is an optical obstacle to actually doing it. There's this thing of, okay, I have to go and study something first before I do something. And for me, there's this risk of, in fast moving things like media and IT, etc., I might go and study something and I go and study it for, say, 4 years. By the time I'm finished, and I think we spoke about this before, by the time I'm finished with the studying, the information that they've given me is obsolete by that time.
Yeah, it's just I just want to elaborate on that, on the fourth one, in terms of studying, education. Because I mean, I would like to say that no, any education is better than no education, because everything is a learning experience. Whether you like it or not, it's a learning experience, and you will have take-home value. But what is important is that you do your homework first to establish what you should be studying, and that you go out and you study and you embark on a career that you know that you would love doing. And people would immediately say, now, how can you know that you love doing when you are 15 or 16 years old? I'm saying to you, my friends out there, you can. You can identify what you love doing very early in your life. So don't that distract you from, even in primary school and high school, finding out which subject you should do to take you down the path of love what you do.
Awesome. So just for those that are watching, even post this interview or this broadcast, the four obstacles to your goals that we discussed: one is inaction, second one is seeking perfection, and third one is valuing others' opinions, and then also studying is an obstacle. Bertie, thank you very much. I think where the previous session we went through a lot of points for instance, insight. Today we pretty much stayed at one of the points in terms of foresight. So I'm very excited for the amount of discussions that we got out of the topic today.
Thank you very much. I do support that view. As I say, and I conclude by saying, foresight is so important. Living your future before even getting there become more important, because that will help you getting there sooner.
Awesome. Thank you very much for watching the Bertie podcast, episode 31 today. And we're looking forward to seeing you again next week at 4 o'clock, and for you to engage. Remember, you can still leave your comments and ask your questions post this broadcast, and we will definitely interact with you. Thank you so much for watching the show today, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, and goodbye.